and essentially the general provision is that the district seeks to keep ambient noise levels that are not detrimental to life, health, and enjoyment of property. It's hereby declared that excessive or unnecessary noises within the district are a menace to the welfare and prosperity of the residents and businesses of the district. It is the declared public policy of the district to reduce the ambient noise levels in the district to promote public health, safety, welfare, and peace and quiet of the inhabitants of the district, and to facilitate the enjoyment of the natural attraction of the district. My house and the Church of the Living God are in an R4 residential neighborhood. You'll see in the provisions that a residential zone allows 60 decibels prior to 10:30 and 55 decibels in the nighttime. Just to give you a context, 60 decibels is about what you might hear with a medium car radio. For cars in the street on medium, windows open, you'll hear what 60 decibels is like. 55 decibels is human speech, normal unamplified human speech, maybe a little bit louder than I'm speaking right at this moment. There is an exception for churches, including a storefront church. They're illegally allowed in a R4 residential neighborhood. But the exemption is that music speaks as follows. Music connected with worship or official church ceremonies shall be exempt, provided that this exemption shall not apply, this is the important part, to music that is amplified through electric sound systems. So basically, just to summarize, what's allowed is 60 decibels of music or less, period. If there's a worship service and a church wishes to have unamplified and acoustic music, meaning nothing amplified, including not an amplified voice. The voice has to be a straightforward voice. That alone, during a worship service alone, or an official ceremony, can go above 60 decibels. It's only under those situations that the noise level is allowed to go above 60 decibels. Even during a worship service or an official ceremony, if it's amplified in any fashion, then it's not allowed to go above 60 decibels. That's what the ordinance states.
Ask you a question.
Yes, sure.
No, you said 60 decibels. That's outside of the edifice. Inside of the edifice, it could be.
Right. If you were to insulate the building fully, and it can't be heard outside of the building, that's up to you and your ears, whatever your ears can handle. The Church of the Living God has amplified music. At least it has been at least 5 nights per week. Usually 7:30ish, 7:30ish, going until 8:30, 9:30, 10:30, sometimes even past 11 o'clock. During their religious celebrations, which they define themselves as following, from what I'm speaking to members of the community, they follow celebrations that are Jewish. So, for example, during the 2 or 3 weeks around Rosh Hashanah and the Day of Atonement, the music was near nightly. And often, for example, on a Sunday night, one particular Sunday night went until 11:30. The impact is to those people that directly surround this church. There are 13 living units on M Street alone that are have a direct backing towards this church, and then 15 apartment buildings apartments in a building that fronts 4th Street. I have attempted to engage the community and then asked Ms. Nigro to engage the community, and have also asked the police commission to engage the community, and without success in having any kind of conversation about the noise problem. The reason I'm speaking tonight is partly out of frustration with that, partly because Passover is about to arrive, and the neighbors that I have spoken to in the immediate vicinity have said that the church is particularly loud during the springtime Passover, and I wanted to have a chance to bring the concerns of the community that is directly surrounding the church to the fact that this festival is coming up and likely to be very loud for us that live in the immediate vicinity. The third reason I'm bringing it up is that on Friday, the 21st of March, the music in the church started, again, amplified electronic music, and it started and was playing at around 9:30 in the evening, and I called the police. The police do not feel as though that they can come to the door. They've said that to me very clearly. They can sit out in front, and they will not go to the door, which I'll bring up as part of my discussion in a little bit. But whether the police responded or not, I was ready for bed at about 11, and I went into my bedroom, and the music was still very loud in the church. So I walked over to the church, and I opened. They have a front door and then a foyer and then a door to their sanctuary. And I opened that door and was tackled by 5 of their men. Well, it may seem funny, but I was pretty seriously injured. And the ages of the men were in their 20s. 3 of the men were in their 20s. The other 2 men would have been, I'm guessing, in their late 30s, early 40s. They tackled me, they threw me on the sidewalk, and continued to treat me in a bad way physically on the sidewalk in front of the church. After the disengagement, I involved the police, and the police took reports.
So, in the interest of time,
Yeah, I'm almost through, believe it or not.
I would like to hear from a representative from the church as well, but have you had any sound measurements conducted to substantiate your claim that the church's services are generating sound outside of their building in excess of the standards in the provisions of the noise ordinance that you presented?
That's why I'm bringing this to the commission. First of all, just like when someone runs a stop sign, it is possible to intervene. The police can intervene without all sorts of fancy instrumentation. Someone runs a stop sign, they run a stop sign. You can tell what is probably over 60 decibels. If 60 decibels is a group of people in normal conversation on the street, you can tell what's over that. If you can hear it loudly and clearly, we're talking about music that, I have next door neighbors who are in their 80s, and they cannot watch television when the church has the music playing. I cannot use part of my house. I can't listen to a radio, I can't listen to TV in half of my house whenever the church is involved in playing music. Now, part of the problem, and this will get to another thing that I'm also raising a concern about, the building was never intended to be anything but a store. It's a poorly built block building, and it has no windows. It has one entrance and exit, and there's a large vent, or 2 large vents on the roof. And the sound literally pours out of those vents into the 2nd and 3rd floors of the houses around. And so that's part of the problem. The other history of this is that a neighbor of mine who lives 2 doors down, who has a son who's about 7 years old, and at the time she was trying to deal with it, was 5 years old, who apparently would have a bedtime. I mean, we're guessing he would have a bedtime. that would be maybe 9, maybe 10 o'clock, I don't know, maybe 8 o'clock.
Let me just stop you. I mean, clearly,
Okay.
there are a number of issues related to sound coming
Right.
from the church that are disturbing residential neighbors in close proximity. And that includes potentially, excessive sounds after what the neighbors would suggest is a reasonable time for.
But it's also
services
night
to
after
be-
night after night.
Yes.
And-
I
The
know.
district has a law that says that nighttime is, and noise levels change at 10 PM. And that's just a fact, that's the DC law. Have you been using a decibel reader you gave us one page of the noise ordinance, but there's a lot more to the noise ordinance that goes with regards to how you determine, and have you done any of that stuff?
Well, this is why I bring it
It's
to
a
the
yes or
commission.
no question. Have you conducted,
I have not personally conducted, I've asked DCRA to respond, Ms. Nigro has asked DCRA to respond. That's,
So,
we get a roadblock
Mayor Rush,
there.
we're gonna let the church speak too, because we're gonna wrap this up. So as far as what I've done so far is reach out to DCRA, Mr. Brush, they have not come out. Okay, they will not come out to the church. This is sad, and I have the mayor's office involved, and I have the police involved. So we have Lieutenant Green involved, I mean, this is taken very seriously, but let's hear from the church, okay?
But can I just say, everything stops because of the church issue. So there's a, well, it's what people directly state. They say, we won't deal with the church. We won't deal with the church. The police don't feel they can even go to the door just to ask them to turn it down. I mean, I'm not interested necessarily in having people cited or have their worship service shut down. I'm just asking that the police go to the door and tell them that the neighbors are being bothered by the music. And the police do not feel as though they have the political cover to even be able to go knock on the door of the church. That's really all I'm asking for, is that I think intervention does help, and it makes a difference if a policeman lets someone know that there's been a complaint and that we would ask you to please turn your noise down. I mean, that's going to be at least what can be offered. But once again, there's a political thing about churches that seems to be an issue.
well, just be aware that, this commission doesn't automatically give churches any particular rights over residents. I mean, we have over the years been very strict in what we've allowed and not allowed in terms of church parking. So I don't presume that we are ill-disposed towards your and your neighbors' concerns, and that we're automatically going to say that the church is right. So we want to listen to the church's position, and we want to continue to work with the district government to try to see
Well, that's
if
why I'm
there
bringing
are
it.
accommodations that can be reached.
Because what I'm getting, I get a roadblock when I get to a certain level. And I don't get return phone calls, and I get told that people aren't going to deal with the church. So that's why I'm bringing it here.
And our role is to advise the District of Columbia government. We can't force
Please.
the government to do anything, but we can make recommendations.
And with that, maybe I could ask for then some guidance at some point if you reach a roadblock.
Well, I think by bringing in, once Lieutenant Green, who has been on training for the past week or 10 days, is back as of tonight. And so we're gonna have a meeting with Mr. Brush and the mayor's office, and we're getting it all on the table. Because in the past, I've only had 2 previous complaints with the church, and they put extra insulation or something like that. It was like 2 years ago? Yeah. So, I like, with my constituents, we just need to put it to bed and make sure both parties, there's a compromise. So I think with this future meeting coming up with the mayor's office, we'll move forward. So.
Okay.
I also think, sir, that you need
Okay, we're gonna let you
to,
speak.
you need to document, and you need to get yourself a decibel reader, so that even if DCRA does not come out, my building has it, we do it on every floor when someone's having a party. But we have to, because it's a huge building and it disturbs other residents. But if you get yourself a decibel reader and you have a chart, you put in what it is at a certain time, how far, you have to be so many feet from the door. You have to have so many readings for each time you do it. But you need to have documentation. Nobody is going to pay a whole lot of attention if you don't have the documentation to back up what your allegation is.
Okay, so let's have the church, if anyone wants to come up and speak to us from the church, please. And thank you for coming. Thank you, Mr. Brush.
Several weeks ago,
Please identify yourself for the record. Please identify yourself for the record.
Elder Kiki Young from Church of the Living God. Several weeks ago, our pastor, myself, and 2 other members met with Lieutenant Green at the 3rd District Police Department. He indicated that the church wasn't doing anything wrong in reference to the complaints from the gentleman. And some of the stuff that points that he's making is not valid. The police have came to the door, have knocked on the door to complaints. The police position is if they come through there and there's no noise, it's nothing they can do about it. The night that the gentleman is talking about, he actually came into the church to try to shut the church down. That's what his purpose was. The police instructed the men, if he come in there again, don't touch him, just call the police and let them handle him. The church have made attempts with soundproofing the inside of the church, working with the community. Even people have moved in, have came to the church and said they didn't have no complaints. So I don't know what the other complaints did he have, other people in the neighborhood did he have to address, don't know where they are. But some of the stuff, the church is not getting special privilege. The church been there for over 50 years. I'm over 40, almost 45. And that church was there before I was born, in the same neighborhood. Same services, same everything. It haven't changed. Matter of fact, the services have been scaled back to accommodate that we are in a residential area and that times are changing. So the services have been scaled back, you know, and the noise level. We have altered our services to even accommodate, but I don't know if that's enough for the job.
Oh, sorry. So when you mentioned that the gentleman came into the church to shut it down.
Yes, he barged in. He came in the door. Yeah.
What exactly, I mean, you don't know his intent, but what did he do?
No, he opened the door. He opened the door to come in. He was enraged. Yes, he was enraged.
But I mean, did he opened the door and he came in?
Yes.
Did
He opened the door to the,
church?
it's a
the
like
sanctuary?
There's 2 doors.
It's 2 doors. So he opened the first door, he came in. It's like a little vestibule foyer area. And then he proceeded to come into the sanctuary, which is the next door into the sanctuary.
But
Was he
the
loud,
church, can
abusive?
anyone come in?
No. No, the church, anybody can come into the church. No, but he came in with the intent that he was going to shut it. The police came, they came, and they listened to his side, and they listened to the side, and nothing came of it. But they was just advising that if he come in there again as to, like he's coming to do something and threatening.
The only thing, I was just wondering, he was saying that he came in with the intent to shut it down, but you have not said what he did other than just come in. So I was just wondering, what did he do?
Go ahead.
Yeah, okay, he came in, he was
I seen it,
enraged.
but I
He
wasn't
started
listening
to
to
come, he came in yelling. We're having a service, he's disrupting the service. So we come out to proceed to calm him down. He said, no, I'm not leaving. Call the police. So he grabbed himself to the door. You could come into our church door today. Our handle is broke on the door because he would not leave. He forcefully said, I'm not leaving. You have to cut the music down. And then we proceeded to take him out of the church because he was disrupting our service.
But the ANC, you can contact Lieutenant Green, the pastor of the church
We are in
already.
constant contact with
Yeah,
Lieutenant
we
Green
already
on
met
this,
with him, we
yes.
went to the district, so, you know.
So as I said, I think once we have this meeting and we have an open dialogue, it'll just be, I think it should be perfectly clear, and the law will be brought in, and as Marge said, you know, there does have to be a noise test, clearly, because that'll be also, it's a bottom line issue, so.
I mean, just my personal, this is in terms of restaurants, but we've had complaints before, and then when a test was done, apparently the restaurant was not violating the noise, even though it irritated the person, it still didn't violate the district standards. That happens.
And that's the reason that I was asking the complainant whether or not he actually had taken any readings, because we do have some experience in dealing with those issues. So again, Commissioner Nigro, I think that you're proceeding appropriately with this particular case, and look forward to hearing what resolution is arrived at with the assistance of the mayor's office. Thank you
Thank you for
all
both parties for
coming
coming.
out this evening. So do we have a representative from DC Commission on Aging to discuss age-friendly DC?
No, Ron?
Seeing no representative. Do we have a representative from Emmaus Services for Aging? Representation?
They're not gonna be here on election.
No, we've got a total of 3 no-shows this evening. So, I don't believe we have any other new business to discuss, so let's take up the matter of old business, 1126 Fifth Street Northwest. Good evening.
Good evening, everyone. My name is David Morris from Craft Design Studio. We are an architecture firm that specializes in historic properties and historic districts. We came to you before for the project that I'm going to talk to you about twice before, which is a project 1126 Fifth Street. It is a conversion of a row house into 4 units. The scope, since we presented previously, has not changed. Still the same number of units, etc. I've given you 2 sheets of 2 sets of drawings. One that has 2 sheets and one that has 8 or 9, I believe. The sheet numbers correspond between the 2. The 2-sheet section is where the project was the last time you saw it, and the larger section, or the larger pamphlet, are the current drawings that we delivered to the Historic Preservation Office on Friday, as we're going to go before the Historic Preservation Review Board at the end of the month. Basically what I'd like to talk to you about is the massing at the rear of the building. Previously, the massing, as you can see on sheet A8, had a bar that projected back from the existing face of the building. I should say that there is currently an existing carport and center block walls that surround the back portion of the yard. That's going to be removed, as it was not ever permitted and not a legal structure. What changed from the last time you saw it was that 3-story bar that's along the back has been removed. The building is receding from the alleyway. It will go back to where the existing building ends, which brings it in alignment with most of the row houses to the south. The 3 row houses to the north still extend past where our property will be located. What the new massing does is, like I said, it pulls back, I believe, about 13 feet closer to where the existing building was, 13 feet farther away from the alley. But there is as in most or many row houses in DC, there's a small, what's called a court along the side of the existing structure that we're going to fill in. So our building will go from property line to property line at the rear. There are no windows along the adjoining building. We're to the south of any property that has a 3rd floor addition, so we're not going to be blocking any light or air of adjoining neighbors. All the properties to the south will still enjoy their full quality of light and air. Material-wise, it's going to be very similar to what it was previously. We're going to use a combination of stucco and ipe wood, which is a Brazilian walnut, which is very weather resistant. Looks very much like teak. It grays and silvers and weathers really nicely. And that's basically it. No, there's no change to the front of the building from when you saw it last. Of course, we'll work with the Brendan Meyer at the Historic Preservation Office on details, materials, and we'd love any comments and feedback.
So, this is in my area. This is, I mean, just for, it's a bit anticlimactic, but when do you think it might start? Because this has been literally almost 3 years.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's been 3 years.
If we'll go before the board at the end of the month. I expect shortly after that, we'll file for building permit. Since we have a building permit application in place now, we've been told by the Department of Zoning, which is kind of the impetus for this revision, that they'll expedite our review. And I would say, if that all goes well, it should be very shortly after that. I mean, everything's pretty much ready to go.
Okay, so just keep in touch, because then I can let the people know about the
Absolutely,
construction.
absolutely.
Are there any questions on the part of the commission? Any questions from the audience? Ms. Nigro, this is in your single member district. Would you like to make a motion?
Zoning, right, okay. I motion that ANC 6E support the changes to the back of the structure at 1126 Fifth Street, and that we write a letter to that extent and for zoning. Sorry, I'm sorry, historic commission.
Yeah.
Okay.
I second the motion. Any further discussion on the part of the commission? Hearing none. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much.
So I don't see any of the other representatives from parties that had asked to address the commission here this evening, so we'll move forward with housekeeping issues. Firstly, approval of minutes of the March 4th, 2014 meeting. Commissioner Macedo, would you like to make a motion?
I'm sorry.
Madam Secretary, would you like to make a motion
I'm
related to
sorry.
the approval of minutes for the March 4th meeting?
I make a motion that we accept the minutes as provided by Karen, with the possibility of typo or corrections that need, from the commission to be made.
I would second that. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
I'm
ready this.
Oops, what was that?
I'm ready this.
Did you want to abstain?
Abstain.
Okay,
Well, I wanted to state one, can I state one readiness or?
sure, by all means.
I think it's necessary for us to put in the minutes that there are 4 organizations that you voted on not to be heard, and you did not hear them at the time. The commission decided to hear those groups, but House Prayer was not one of those ones that they were released and they weren't able to be heard during that meeting. So we want to put in the meetings. I think the community wants to put in the meetings, in the minutes, that they were not able to be heard during the commission, even when they were here, but were dismissed. And then when it's time for them to be heard, they were not here to speak for themselves because it was dismissed from the meeting. Because we took a vote. And the 4 groups that came at the last minute, there were 4 items that were put on the agenda at the last minute, remember? And when those 4 items were voted not to be heard, later on they were heard once those people were left, and the community really wanted to have an opportunity to speak in that meeting. So I just want that to be.
So we can accommodate that in a clarification in minutes. And we did vote to approve it. I don't have a problem making sure that that gets added. So Karen, I'll be sure to provide you with some language to that effect.
Right, I'll insert that.
All right, moving on to approval of treasurer's report. Mr. Chappell?
Yes, as of today, ANC 60 has a total amount in our checking account of $51,673.53, and all outstanding checks that have been distributed to vendors have been cleared the account. I move that we approve, the ANC 60 approve the treasurer's report.
Seconded. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Thank you very much, that's unanimous. Mr. Chappell, approval of expenses.
I move the ANC 60 approve the payment of $125 to minute taker and preparer Karen Lowridge. And I also move that ANC 60 approve the payment of $400 to Miller Copying Service for the printing of our April newsletter.
Seconded. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
That's unanimous. Thank you very much. And then there was one reimbursement.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. And I move that,
Is it too late to ask a question?
after we get finished with this.
Okay.
I move that ANC 6E reimburse Commissioner Padro the amount of $342 for the payment of the commission post office box for the calendar year, it's one calendar year, for for the amount of time from March 2014 to March 2015.
I'll second.
Been properly moved and seconded, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
That's unanimous, thank you very much. There was a question that you wanted to
Yeah, I
ask?
have a question. You indicated that you have, what, $51,000 funding. What exactly can that fund be used for? What, community events, or is there a
The
specific?
commission has adopted a budget for this calendar year, which includes expenditures related to copying, printing, this PO box that we just approved, and there is a provision for grants, so we will be announcing a round of grants that can be applied for.
Okay.
So we'll be communicating that opportunity very shortly.
Is the budget on the website, Rochelle?
No, I can put it up there if you want.
Oh, okay.
That way you can take a look and see what,
It's not in the minutes?
But I can set you a separate task for it.
Oh, okay.
So we are now at announcements, and I will begin. Firstly, the Shaw Main Streets Gala will be held on the 16th of April at Longview Gallery, 1234 9th Street Northwest, from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. It will be celebrating the libations and other beverages that are making our neighborhood famous. Tickets are $75. On the 29th of April, Shaw Main Streets will hold its rescheduled annual meeting. It was originally going to take place on March the 25th, but it was rescheduled because the Glass Inn rooftop lounge at City Market at O's West Building was not ready for us. So now we will be able to move forward with the event in the venue, which hopefully the weather will cooperate and we'll be able to enjoy the sun going down in the west and hopefully the moon coming up in the east as we did at our event last year. Other announcements?
I'm having my annual social media mixer on April 29th. All are welcome.